All right. Welcome to the upper elementary breakout for VBC. This is if you're working with 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. And in case you missed the opening session, my name is Nick Ransom, and I work on staff here at Kids Corps, and mostly with elementary kids. And during the week of VBC, I'll be spending most of my time with 3rd graders. So if you're a 3rd grade leader, I'll be hanging out with you all and kind of leading that. And then if you're with 4th and 5th graders, your main point people will be Todd Davidson, who is the middle school director at Res Life, so helping those 5th graders transition into 6th grade and getting to know him. Also, we have a couple of volunteers, Stephanie Gagan, who's a mom of a 4th grader and a 6th grader, and then we'll have a youth leader, Abby Olson, who will be coming by and helping with games. So they'll kind of be your point people. We also have Brenda Thornton over there as well, helping kind of direct and move all those 4th and 5th graders around too. So we are super excited about having all the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. And 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade is just a little bit different than everything else because we know of their age and where they're at. I'm just going to get into that just a little bit. But before I do that, I just want to once again say thank you for being a part of VBC, being with the 3rd and 4th, 5th graders. I have 3 5th graders, and I know just what a critical age this is for these kids. And I've been doing some research and reading about that. And just this is like a really important spiritual time for them where they may not physically check out because they're forced to come to church by parents, but sometimes they can mentally check out in 5th grade or 4th grade, and then it's us as loving leaders and caring leaders coming by their side and talking to them about faith and just showing them God's love that helps them back. So thank you for doing that. So I'll talk real quick just about 3rd through 5th graders and just a little bit about what makes them special, what makes them unique, and which might help explain why we do VBC just a little bit differently for them. So 3rd through 5th graders, we're going to call them tweens, all right? And so there is a stat out there that says by the year 2020, which is next year, which is crazy because I had a stat for a couple of years. Like, oh man, that's next year, 2020. There's going to be 23 million tweens out there, all right? And they account for $260 billion in direct sales annually. There's also a stat out there that says that preteens can really influence what car parents buy. I mean, they influence that much. So I'm like, okay. So when we talk about preteens, they're in between adolescence and childhood. They're kind of stuck in the middle. So, it can range, people range this age group from either 8 to 12, some say 10 to 12, so it's somewhere in there. And then I had been reading a book about them. It's by Dan Scott, called Caught in the Middle. And just some of the things about them I just thought was interesting. If you remember these things, it might help you as you work with them during the week. So he says they are a bundle of paradoxes. They are complex but simple, curious and naive, abstract and concrete, physically maturing, and acting immature. And this one hits me right? Because you see these kids growing, right? In 3rd, 4th, and 5th, they're getting tall, and man, they're growing up and they should be more mature than that. But then you get to them in a group in a classroom, and sometimes they're acting like 4-year-olds. I'm like, what's going on here? So they're seriously. So they look like they're a lot older, but they're still slightly immature, and they're still growing up. So those are some things to think about. He also says that elementary kids think like scientists, middle schoolers think like engineers, and preteens are somewhere in between that. So just kind of think about that. So then he mentions this. How do we teach them? He says autonomy, to discover more about themselves in light of who God is, critical thinking skills, to analyze what they discover and wrestle with what they don't understand, empathy, that connects what they're learning to how it impacts their relationships, and then relevance for how ancient writings connect to their limited but growing life experience. So how does the Bible connect to them in their limited but growing life experience? And the final thing I'll just mention about this is he said one of the things he did was he asked adults to think about 3 words that would describe who you are, right? And so he's thinking about these 3 words. And then he said, think about when those words were first, a part of who you thought you were. And he said a lot of this is right around 9, 10, 11, 12. Maybe they really love music. When do they really start loving music is right about the preteen age. They're really starting to figure out who they are. So if we can influence them and help them make faith a part of who they are at this age, then it can really stick with them. So bottom line on all this, so I didn't do any fancy PowerPoint slides. I'm just doing horrible handwriting. So if I was thinking of 3 things that we'd want them to walk away with from camp, these would be my 3 things, all right? First, I want them to know that God loves them, right? Sometimes they go through times where they aren't sure, like they're maturing and they're just too awkward. So we want them to know that God loves them unconditionally and that God created them the way they are on purpose. All right. Also, I want them to know that God calls them. Right. God has called them to do something. God has called them to be in relationship with God. God has called them to treat others well. God has called them to have faith. Right. So think about that. And then just finally, to serve others. Like sometimes they are very self-centered, thinking only about themselves. But think about, it's kind of like us, but think about how they can serve and care for others and ways that they can help those that are in need or just people around them. So that is kind of the things I want us to think about when we think about what we want them to come away with. So that's just kind of overview of who 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders are, and just keep those in mind as we work with them during the week. So I want to go through just some of the nuts and bolts of 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And first I'll just start with the schedule for the week. So this is my quick overview. We'll start with 3rd grade. Now, by the way, you'll get packets. Either if you're here, you have packets like this. If you don't, you can go online to our volunteer hub and get them. If you don't get them there, we will have them copies for you when you arrive. But the first page of the curriculum is kind of your schedule for the day, whether there's a 4th and 5th one, and here's a 3rd one. And they're fairly, I mean, they have kind of the same flow. But 3rd grade, in 3rd grade's hub central location will be Bible Theater, which is B206 in building B upstairs. And so for a lot of them will know where that is. All right? And that's where they'll begin. They'll check in at B201, 203, 205. They'll check in there, and then they'll come into Bible Theater. And went there from 12:30 to 1:10 will be a large group time where they're together. And that's going to be the part where I am coordinating and leading. So there'll be some stuff where we'll break them into their small groups. They'll do some couple things in their small groups, but there'll also be some upfront games that we'll play. We'll do a quick review of the lesson, a couple of things before we rotate. So that's will be the part there. So you won't have much responsibility other than being with your group of kids. I'll tell you about how you're going to get your group of kids and how that'll work here in just a second. But you'll be with your group of kids during this time, just hanging out with them and just kind of keeping their direction up front. If you're looking for anyone late, that's part of your group. Say, come on, join our group. So then after that, we go to the sanctuary, and this is the time where everyone's together, kindergarten through 5th grade. Everyone's in the sanctuary for praise and worship, our drama, and scripture reading, and just other announcements. So we'll all be there together. And once again, during that time, just hang out with your kids, sit with them. It's best to sit in the middle with them, not like off to the side, but to sit with them as well. Then at 2 o'clock, they'll come back from Bible Theater to they'll come back from the sanctuary to Bible Theater, where we'll do a quick Bible story recap and game. And what will happen during that time is I'll have someone else for 3rd grade leading that. So I'll be able to meet with all our small group leaders for about 5 minutes just to go over a few nuts and bolts about your small group time, just make sure everyone knows what they're doing and see if anyone has any questions. All right, and then we'll just recap the story, kind of give them the basis for what they're going to be doing next. And then for the next hour, they're going to be doing a rotation where they're going to spend about 20, 25 minutes in their small group time, where your curriculum is and what you'd be leading, and we'll have all those supplies and everything for you. So you're just going to be you'll be using those supplies and following this curriculum. And there's also you'll be doing a station each day, and that station is either recreation, it could be Pizza Planet, it could be craft. One day it's inflatables. So you'll be checking your schedule, and we'll help you figure that out. So you'll be either do small group first and then go to your station, or do station first and then small group. All right, you do that for that hour, and we'll tell you exactly where you're going. Then from 3:15 to 3:30, you'll come back to the Bible Theater room, where I will do some final announcements, maybe a final game, depending on how much time we have, closing challenge, and then we will send them off from there. We're still working on how we'll work at dismissal. Usually they hang out in that Bible Theater space, and we'll wait for parents to come and pick them up. And then once most of your group is gone, you're free to go, and I'll hang out till everyone else is dismissed. So that's 3rd grade. And then 4th and 5th grade kind of run in a very similar format with my beautiful schedule. So 4th and 5th grade, their hub, their center is the student center. So those of you that are here live in person, just right over there. Those of you who are watching, it's in building C there. So that's where they're going to start. They're going to check in. And then at 12:35-ish, we'll begin as a large group time. Once again, there will be a large group leader there. It's either Stephanie Gagan or Todd Davidson leading that time up front. And there'll be some stuff where they're going to be in your small group. Ask them what they had for dinner last night, or talk about your favorite character from Toy Story, anything like that. And then at 1:05, you'll begin moving to the sanctuary. Now, the thing about 4th and 5th graders, it takes a really long time to move 225 4th and 5th graders from the Student Center to the sanctuary. So you gotta give yourself at least 10 minutes to travel, and our upfront leaders will do that. But it'll be important that you walk with them to the sanctuary. Just hang out with your group, and then you guys, 4th and 5th, are sitting up in the balcony during VBC, just because that's where we have space for everybody. To do the sanctuary, then they'll come back for the Bible story recap from up front. And once again, Mike Petersma will be over there, and he's going to kind of help coordinating small groups. And so he'll kind of talk to you about what's going to be happening in your small group time. Let's ask if you have any questions. And then he'll just be floating around the different rooms where you're having your small group time to just make sure things are okay. And he works with our small groups on the weekend, so he's very good at doing that type of thing. So he'll be hanging out there with all of you. And then you'll be doing the small group / snack and free time between 2:20 and 3:15. So the kids, instead of rotating in the Student Center, they'll rotate in the Student Center. We'll have snack and free time with all the games in there. And then the other half will be doing small groups, and then they'll flip-flop. And that's just how we'll do it most days. And then at 3:15, back to the Student Center for their closing time. Any questions in person here? Yeah.
Sanctuary is building A?
Yes, sanctuary, building A, the main sanctuary, yeah.
The Student Center is at the Foundry?
No, the Student Center is behind Wesley Chapel.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Yep.
With the 4th and 5th grade, do they not do like crafts and they have free time?
Right,
so,
they have
like,
free time.
Okay, so it's like rec.
Right,
Okay.
yes. There might be like, the craft will be available for them to do during free time at the table, so those that are interested can do it.
So it's up to us to talk about the missions besides just what they're seeing in the sanctuary. Like there's no
Right.
like.
Right, yes, and they're small group and writing about the mission, yeah. Yep.
When it comes time to let them go with someone, do they need proof of who they're leaving with?
4th and 5th do not.
No.
4th and 5th are self-release. So it'll be important to talk to them about meeting spots so that they have a meeting spot.
Starts on the first day. We need
Yes.
to find someone.
Yeah, we'll announce that to in an email to the leader saying, hey, how about a meeting spot for your 4th and 5th grader?
But 3rd grade,
3rd grade, no proof, but they have to stay in Bible theater until. we
Stay and
check them
wait.
out. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Where is Bible Theater?
Bible theater is 2nd floor, building B.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
How many adults per small group?
It'll be about 2 adults for about 8 to 10 kids. In your small group.
Going up to 12.
Going up to 12 kids. 2 kids to 12. Two leaders, 12 kids. Leader ratio. Thanks.
Small group times that then right in the Student Center, you just get your kids together there.
It will actually be in all the classrooms around the Student Center. So you'll have like downstairs, you'll have a couple rooms up here too. So it'll be a little bit quieter for you. Yep. Cool. And then those of you watching online, you are welcome to email me, nick.ransom, or ask a question to Shiloh right now if you're watching live. So that's the kind of schedule. There are a few specials that 3rd, 4th, and 5th do. The specials for 3rd grade, they're going to have an inflatable day. So one of the rotations will be, we're going to load up the Foundry with inflatables for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And so one of those days will be 3rd grade. We'll get to go into the Foundry and just jump on inflatables for like 20 minutes. So, and then of course the shaving cream battle on Friday. 4th and 5th, they have a few extra specials. On Wednesday, they do a mission project called Something to Eat, which is when they fill bags with rice and beans and then they seal them and then they go out to those that are in need that are hungry. So they do that on Wednesday. And so you'll be doing that with them. And then you'll also have an opportunity to kind of ask some questions and reflect with them about like what was their experience and what they thought about that. And it's going to be on Wednesday, which is our day where Ruth served her mother-in-law. So think about how ways that we could serve someone that was in need. Thursday, they have a special guest, Team Extreme, which is a bunch of guys who follow Jesus who are really strong and can bend things. And so they bend stuff and break bricks and all kinds of crazy stuff and then talk about their faith and challenge the kids to grow in their faith too. So they'll be coming. And then, of course, they will have the shaving cream battle as well. So with that, I'll just talk a little bit about how small groups are formed, so how your small groups are formed. If you're in 3rd grade, we are going to pre-assign your small groups. So when you arrive Monday, you'll know who your leader is and who the kids are in your group. A lot of kids have made requests, so we're going to try and honor that as best we can. So one of the first things we will do on Monday when we get there is we'll make sure as they come in, we'll kind of let them play in Bible theater, then I'll call them together, and then we'll work on finding their groups. And that will take a little bit of time, even though they know even though we have them pre-assigned, but we like, you're in group number 1. So leaders will have like a paint stick with a number on it. Well, on a sign, they hold up like this, group number 1, if you remember, and we'll help facilitate that. It'll probably also be on their name tag, and we'll make that clear for them. So we'll get them in their groups, and one of the first things you'll do in your 3rd grade group is kind of get to know them, get their names, find out something they like, and then that will be your group. You come up with a group name and all kinds of fun stuff. If you're in 4th and 5th, we create groups Monday at 12:37, which can be a little chaotic, but generally works. And so what we'll do is they'll spread you out as leaders around the student center. You'll have your partner with you, and because we have 2 leaders for each group, and then you will wait for kids to come to you and say, Eric, you got 12, Charlotte says 12 kids in your group. And so once you get to 12, you sit down, and then we will, that's your group. And then if there's a group that has, 8, and there's a group of 6 that want to come over and join it, we'll try and, figure out a way to make them either break into groups of 3 or trying to figure out a way to make everyone happy. It usually works, surprisingly, and it works pretty well. It's a lot easier than trying to form those groups prior. So that's what we're going to do. And we'll help you from up front on the stage. The MC on the microphone will do that. We'll have a couple staff people walking around trying to help you do that. So once your groups are there, that is your group. You get their roster, you figure out the names, write that down, come up with the group name, and kind of fun stuff like that. So that is how our groups will be formed. That will be your group for the week. Yes?
And we'll have the same group from Monday through.
Yes. And that will be your group all week. And right. And so after Monday, it'll be simple. That's super easy after Monday.
Kids all have name tags.
Yes. They all have name tags. 4th and 5th might be a little bit different than 3rd grade. But yeah, they all have name tags on, so you can know them. And they'll wear name tags every day. So that will be helpful for everybody involved, including myself. So once you have your groups, you'll know who your group are, and you'll stay with them, and then you have your small group material there, and the supplies are there. One thing I will just say about when you do your small groups is to only use the supplies you need, because we are sharing supplies with each other. So like, say for example, there's a group in this room for the first 20 minutes, use the supplies only that you need, because once you rotate, another group's gonna come in and use the same supply. So for example, if one day you have to use gum and every kid gets 1 piece of gum for for a project or for just to enjoy, don't let one kid take 8 pieces of gum, and then so the next group comes in, they're not going to be able to get it. And so an easy thing to tell them is like, hey, we got to make sure everyone gets a piece of gum. So that's an easy reason why they can't have it. Whereas in time past, a group might have had a whole bunch of gum, you just do what you want with it. That's just the example. So just use the supplies, only what you need, so that the next group coming in will have what they need. So, all right, so then if I have just a few tips as small group leaders. I don't know if these are good tips or not, but I think they are pretty good. So as a small group leader, I think one of the most important things you can do is connect. And that is connect with your group of 8 to 12 in your group. That's get to know their names and say their names a few times, like Amy mentioned earlier in our other session. Say them 3 or 4 times during the day. Hopefully by Wednesday or Thursday, you don't even need the name tags, right? Help other kids connect with each other, all right? So if there's a kid that joins your group who may not know anyone in that group, just help them connect with others, all right? And sit with them in the sanctuary time. Use times when you're not teaching to hang out and build relationships with them. Especially if you have a kid who's really energetic, all right, and has a lot of energy, and sometimes you're always speaking to them in the small group time, if you build a relationship with them during the times you're not teaching, they're more apt to like pay attention and listen to what you're saying in small group time, because they know you care about them and you're not just yelling at them because that's what you're doing, right? So if you have built a relationship with them, they're more likely to listen. At least that's what I find. So just connect with them at any chance, sit with them in the sanctuary, enjoy a snack with them, walk around as they're playing games, and just get to know them and build some relationships, because relationships to them are really important. And so if you build a relationship with them, it's kind of, you're representing Jesus to them and showing them that, hey, I've taken a week to be here to show you God's love, right? And that's just, you may not see it that week, but it's just could be a huge thing for them. So just connect with them. Number 2 would be pace. When you're leading your small group time, watch your pacing. Don't spend too much time on any one thing, even if it's going great. So if you have a great activity, it's the open activity, the kids are loving it, and they're playing it for 15 minutes, that's not really the idea. So stop something, even if it's going great, so you move on to the next thing, right? And then the same point, don't quickly move through something too fast, right? Especially if it's kind of like the part we're trying to apply what they're learning to their lives, right? If you ask a question and there's silence for a minute or they're not understanding it's right, just give it a minute and continue to ask them the questions and allow them to think about it a little bit. Also know that your expectations of your groups might be different depending on what your group dynamic is, all right? So, for example, if you have a group of 12 boys in your group, and they're 5th grade boys, and then you have a group of 12 girls, it might look a little bit different, all right? So just know going in there, like trying to figure out maybe for the boys, they want to sit on the floor and one of them wants to lay down, on their side, but they're still paying attention. I mean, that's probably okay. Whereas, you might be able to have girls who are sitting and listening, or you might have on the reverse, where you might have girls that just want to talk the whole time. Or so you just got to kind of going in with the different expectations, remembering that they look physically mature, like they should be able to handle some of this, but they're still slightly immature, all right? And I know this because I have 5th grade boys, so I understand, like, man, they're growing up, but they still need a little bit of guidance and to know that maybe I can't go as deep with them because they're maybe not ready for that, even though they look like they are. So just going in there with those expectations, like when we did Wednesday nights, we have 4th and 5th graders on a Wednesday night called Z45. We did some small groups with them, and you'd walk around, and some of our leaders, when they first start this expectation, they're going to go through the small group, which is very similar to what this curriculum was, and they're going to do it like exactly the way it was, and everything was going to go right, and it's just going to be perfect. But it wasn't. They had to kind of adapt to who their group was and get to know them a little bit. So just know that this curriculum is a guide, but if you need to tweak something a little bit, or oh, the game's going to get them too wild at the beginning, so we're going to save the game to the end, and we want to do the Bible story and the digging into it first, that's totally fine too. It's just kind of going and knowing what you're trying to accomplish there as well. So with that, I'm just going to wrap it up let you know that we are here to help for 3rd grade. If you need anything during the week, just to let me know. I'll be around. Drop me an email. Talk to you before, after VBC. I am there to help you. If you're in 4th and 5th grade, Mike Petersma will be showing up there that Monday at VBC to help you get things going, but there'll be other staff there that you can talk to if you need anything or have any questions. And then in the meantime, you're also welcome to drop an email to myself before VBC starts as well. So, questions?
Yes, just one thing. So if I have a child that I need to have over in building B, but I'm meeting there for my small group on Monday, what time how does that work?
Yes. The beauty of with the upper elementary, if you're a little bit late, that's okay because they're starting in a large group time. So like if you have to drop kids off, that's totally fine. You'll drop your kids off first, then come over to your area. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I was like, I'm in totally different building.
Yeah, there's a lot of walking. So we can, 3rd, 4th, and 5th can handle leaders being like 5 minutes late, whereas K1 and 2 may not be able to. Because
what time will they take kids over there
I
then?
think rooms open about 12:20. But it depends on once 2 leaders get there. So.
That's true, yes.
All right. So awesome. Yeah, one more question? Yeah.
I do have a question. It's only because I don't listen well. I'm sure you covered it right.
Maybe.
Okay, on Thursday, for instance, which I think you told us we had inflatables in 3rd grade.
Could be. No, 4th and 5th have inflatables on
Our
Thursday.
team extreme.
Okay, when do we have inflatables?
4th and 5th?
3rd.
3rd grade, yes.
Okay,
I think it's Wednesday.
then it looks to me as I'm going through, maybe it's because it's on Wednesday, but do we have a lesson and inflatables, or is it all inflatable time?
No, you'll have a lesson and inflatables.
Okay.
So we have structures to get a chance
Okay,
to do
thank
that.
you.
And we think because 3rd grade, we think we can do half in inflatables, half in small group, and then rotate, and there's enough inflatables to all have a great time. So
We're actually we're receiving the kids in Bible theater?
yes,
Okay. Do we ever go to a class? Do we go to a
Yes.
classroom for small groups?
yes, there'll be rooms. Yes, we will assign you rooms for your small groups. You don't have to be involved. Some of you will stay in the big space. We just want to keep the volume level low. So like 3 groups in Bible theater, the big or student center. That's good because there's not a whole bunch. So for those of you live, I'm gonna take your questions here in just a minute, but I'm gonna have a sign off on Zoom for those that are watching online. So thank you everybody who are watching on Zoom live. Thank you for being here. We'll see you in person in just a few days. For those of you who are watching on the hub later on, thank you for doing that. If you have any questions, there's information on the hub, or you can contact me. So we'll see you on June 10th. See ya.
I will meet